I pity the fool who thinks that Lizardmen are a weak faction, and this coming from an Empire main, granted, which I do believe that Lizardmen historically and still to this day are one of the tougher matchups for the Empire for a few reasons, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. Instead, we're here with this replay from Prime against Chaos Dwarfs, and Life Salon leading the way, very traditionalist choice, with some Croxagores. We've got two of them, some red-crested skinks, a little unusual, but they're a little bit better than they used to be. Certainly decent speed and some AP damage as well. We've got the Umbral-Tide Regiment of Renowned Salamander, as well as an Ancient Salamander, plus the Solar Engines, lots of long-range fire damage, and some Cold One Riders, a big block of 4 on the left flank for a big overload. With the Chaos Dwarfs opposing them, some sneaky gits here to try and cut through some chaff. Ironsworn, 3 of them, plus the Blazing Beards for 4 heavy Grenadier infantry. Some blunderbusses as well, and some laborers to saturate in some numbers with a Sorcerer Prophet of Fire. Piercing Bolts of Burning, very interesting choice, and Burning Head, always good. Let's see what they do. This is, of course, Conquest, so the point here will unlock momentarily. And these skinks will start to get the capture underway. Ancient Salamander is going to come forward here with the sneaky gits doing a great job sneaking and being discovered right as they're throwing their daggers into the Ancient Salamander. Pretty good damage. I mean, considering they're just throwing daggers, a little precursor volley does some damage. Maybe like an 1/8 of the Ancient Salamander's HP. But of course, with anti-infantry, they'll easily clean up these skinks in melee. Although the fire damage from the Salamander might turn things around as they take a massive hit right in the center on the charge there. The other engagement, ooh yeah, grenades being thrown against just skinks. I say just skinks to say that the skinks being blown up here, but it is ultimately the cheapest unit could be used on here. But oh no, the Red Crests also just get devastated on the approach there. Loose formation helps them absolutely none, as the Ironsworn are able to rout them all in a single volley. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why arguably just take regular skink cohorts instead, but the Croxagores and the flank overload, right? All these skinks bravely sacrificing themselves so these other units can get into combat here. Got a Flesh to Stone, very nice choice. Beautiful 69 physical resistance is going to make these guys basically immune to damage. There's nothing here that does magic damage. No Flaming Sword of Ruin to counteract that. Layering that on with some Shield of the Old Ones as well, so they get maximum uptime of damage mitigation, resisting the gunfire there of the blunderbusses. Not that they're doing a ton of shooting. They're inundated by the Cold One Riders. Some nice AP damage. But let's see. Yeah, all the support infantry forward Lizardmen immediately rout and run away. Not too surprising there. Ancient Salamander now is going to be blasted pretty hard by those blunderbusses, and the Solar Engine also firing away. The Salon is kind of fine to just grind against the sneaky gits here, but the Grenade Infantry does turn around just in time to get a few volleys on the remaining Cold One Riders charging in there. I say remaining. There are still 2 more units bullying this blunderbuss here. And the Croxagores doing a decent job. I mean, they are matched up against Ironsworn, who are very tanky, but they don't have a lot of offensive output, so the Croxagores can actually grind with them very cost-effectively. Piercing Bolts of Burning here, used to just ruin a Cold One Rider. Makes sense from a tactical perspective, just to get them off the field. And the Croxagores on the opposite side here, again, haven't taken damage from the blunderbusses, which is so critical. The Ironsworn have used up all their grenades. There's not really a lot that can damage the Croxagores here as they continue to fight. Yeah, they're going to directly charge the blunderbusses, which is 100% the right call. From a win condition perspective, the blunderbuss is by far the most threatening thing to the Croxagores, and the Croxagores are very much going to be key if the Lizardmen want to pull this one out. It's not looking great for them right now, though. Yeah, the Ancient Salamander having a hard time staying out in the open. The Salon does survive there. A little Burning Head from the Sorcerer Prophet doesn't help. Sorcerer Prophet also taking some flames to the face from those Salamanders. The Umbral-Tide getting some good damage, as is the Solar Engine, just applying that blinded debuff. I haven't really been paying too much attention to the targeting, but let's see what it flies in there. Another Piercing Bolts of Burning going to be called down. A big clump of these Cold One models. Did not get away in time. Relatively small template AoE, so it's easy to miss, but it does have a reasonably long spin-up time. But, ooh, here we go. Slann gets charged. Solar Engine is continuing to fire downtown into the Iron Sworn, but now, ooh, doesn't switch. Instead, the Umbral Tide do switch. Slann is going to turn. Yeah, there we go. Here, with the blinded debuff, the Slann could maybe actually turn and fight and do okay. The Solar Engine there just gets a hit in after the Slann routes. But didn't quite get the support debuff there in time, but nonetheless, little Burning Head here is only really going to impact the Skinks. Won't do much at all to the Kroxigors, as they are just trading beautifully against those Ironsworn. Same thing over here. This one, yeah, 108 kills, almost 1,000 damage value. Now moving on to the Blazing Beards. We've got a little banishment as well on the Blunderbusses. And the Sorcerer Prophet getting a taste of his own medicine. Fight fire with fire, right? The Umbral Tide certainly living by that motto as they send the Sorcerer Prophet packing there, or at least keep him screened out of meaningfully contributing to this battle. Solar Engine also can contribute in melee, essentially has perfect vigor, right, with this Solar Engine passive that can also refresh the vigor of any units standing nearby. So, like the Slann still being fresh, the Umbral Tide still being fresh, means at the end of the game they can all try and work together if they need to. Could also, like, pull these Kroxigors back, right? If they survive long enough to fight near the Solar Engine, they'll get some benefit from it, although the units that are already tired, they're not going to get as much because they'll be continuing to spend vigor as they're gaining it, right? So they won't be gaining as much units that have been able to stay fresh this whole time. But let's see here, Solar Engine. Ooh, yeah, it's going to hit that Sorcerer Prophet there, keep his leadership low, and then the Umbral Tide kind of crowd up on the Ironsworn and then just loose their last few volleys, which do ultimately make contact and rout him away. They're going to pay for it with a Piercing Bolts of Burning on themselves. And the Ancient's still alive, though. Has a good amount of HP left. Been able to sustain with some healing here. Little Earthblood there into the Umbral Tide as they rout away. So they should come back there with that healing. Unfortunately, we still don't have a healing metric being able to be measured in the game, which would be really nice to see how much healing the Slann has actually put out, how much damage has the Slann put out. We can see, yeah, not a ton of gold value, but some damage nonetheless. Some banishments and such. But let's see here, yeah, the unit's kind of rallying to the Basildons, definitely a good call. Goblin Labor still being alive at this stage of the game, pretty surprising, but yeah, the Basilodon also, of course, has anti-infantry AP, and being that it has essentially perfect vigor, even though it's only 23 melee attack with plus 15 bonus versus infantry, I mean, these Infernal Ironsworn are getting quite tired. Granted, that doesn't affect their melee defense, but only 32 melee attack, rather, against the 29 defense and 140 armor. Basilodon, one of the highest armor units in the game. From a base armor perspective, going to be mostly impervious to their attacks. And the Umbral Tide also getting a nice AoE damage volley onto those sneaky gits. So the Kroxigors managing to hold one out here on the far side too. Just absolute MVP. Cleaned up tons and tons of infantry. 288 kills, 18,000 damage dealt, 1,400 gold value. Yeah, very good stuff. 150% value payback on that particular Kroxigor. Fast forward through the end here as Lizardmen are able to get their cleanup. So yeah, initially looked very bad when all those skinks got exploded, balance power shifted, but Kroxigors are able to stand firm. From a win condition perspective, Prime here did a good job of prioritizing taking out the blunderbusses, and if we look at their value, we're going to see they're fairly well limited. They did get some damage, but not as much as they needed to carry the game, in particular, obviously, on the high-value targets like the Kroxigors, both of which pay for themselves, which is beautiful to see. One of them, of course, then some. The Ancient Salamander also, with the healing, relatively forgivable against a reasonably slow faction like the Chaos Dwarfs, was able to get some good value in. Same with the Umbral Tide. I like this sort of triple fire damage ranged units, all different roles, do different things, but synergize very well. And then, of course, Cold One Riders. This is the unit that makes this matchup very tough for the Empire, if you wanted to know. Literally, this unit in and of itself, because it's so efficient in so many different situations. Great armor piercing. One of them Almost 1,500 damage value, 12,000 damage dealt. Very good stuff. Salon did his thing, supporting enough to help the win. Ultimately, for the Chaos Dwarf side, it's a pretty decent build overall. I do think, you know, the big dinos are definitely a threat here. Obviously, all the Ironsworn are going to do a pretty good job. The Blazing Beards as well, but I think you maybe just need to rethink some of their support units, perhaps. The Sneaky Gits are okay, but, I mean, one of them ends up getting 900 damage value, which is definitely not bad. But, I don't know. I think maybe you'd be better served with a different unit setup here, perhaps. Hard to say. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I know I sure did. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.